the way people was getting jacked. I'm surprised like J-Bone didn't get his wallet stolen. Zale, I'm surprised. People were stealing wallets, goggles. So that was confusing for everybody. But I'm sure all the guys that almost hit the people, they were probably like, cool, now we can talk about this and not what I just went through. And I think people see it more now than they did when I first started saying this last year at outdoors, when I was like, dude, that dude's a killer. Like, don't be sneaky. Don't get fooled with the donuts. Don't get fooled with the donuts. Like, he might be baking it, but he might be whooping the chefs in the background, like making sure the donuts are right. Like, that's what type of person he is. Because that dude wants to win. They don't beat him the next couple weekends, they might not beat him again. What's up, guys? You know who it is, your boy JS7, and you know where we at. We at the Rewind, baby, from round 9 from Daytona, Florida. Bike week, had this big old inside the NASCAR facility racetrack. You know how it is. Daytona is a whole beast itself. Should be its own series. But Mother Nature showed up and let those guys know not only they're going to be racing the other riders, they're going to be racing Mother Nature. That track was gnarly. So I haven't seen it that gnarly since the last time I seen it that gnarly, and it's been a long time since it's been that gnarly. So those guys had a good time, maybe. Most of them got out of there pretty safe, most of them, and it was a good racing. So let's get into it, people. Round 9 from Daytona. Let's do it. So coming into Daytona, one of the new things that was going to happen besides the track layout going a little bit different, Dirtworks built it this year, and it was really soft. It was, a lot of people talked about the rain, it being soft, but I think it was actually not that. I think when they used to build Daytona, they used to build it a couple weeks out, and so that track used to be able to harden up. Where Dirtworks, they was obviously at the race last weekend, and so they built Daytona this week, and so I think a part of the reason why it was so soft is because they didn't have that dirt didn't have enough time to sit and harden up. So I believe it was more about that rather than it actually what the way Dirtworks build it or anything like that. Because Daytona looked like Daytona as far as the jumps and how everything was, but the fact is, like, they usually, when Barnett then built it, they usually build it a couple weeks out, so it allows that dirt to harden up and be a little bit harder. So this year it was a lot of ruts, and whether Mother Nature was going to come in and rain at all, that track was going to be gnarly. And it, just thinking about it right now, the fact is that it rained. It actually might have helped those guys out more, because it was still going to be super rutted. But I think if the rain slowed them down just a little bit, so it kind of took out, even though it was sloppy and was difficult to ride, it probably made it a little bit safer in the sense of they wouldn't be going as fast, hitting all those ruts. So nonetheless, the track was going to be brutal. It was brutal, and the soil was unlike Daytona, where it was really slippery this year. Like, the base was super hard. Like, you had all the ruts and how soft the faces of the jumps were, but then I think what they did, they sat it on the actual grass area. And so when you notice the guys landing off jumps, like, they would land and they were doing like the fishtails like everywhere. And so it was a big part of the track, not only dealing with the ruts, but dealing on a hard base, sitting on that infield grass. So it was really tricky for those guys. Probably just riding straight line. The soil itself was probably the most difficult part, even over all the jumps this year. So this weekend, it was a lot of talk, almost, I would say, with the big three. I mean, even the big four, you can include Chase Sexton in that, but Chase has been a little bit more quiet. But there was a lot of talk about Cooper Webb, because although Eli's won all these races, Cooper Webb was the other guy that's been second, third. Like, he's never won this race, but he's been right there. Last year, Eli passed him either last lap or right at the end. So Cooper's good at this track. And then you have, of course, Eli Tomac, and then you have Jett Lawrence. So we were wondering, was beast mode back? And after his performance last weekend, being able to come up to the pack, I said, like, if he was ever going to come back, it was going to be because of that race. But still, there was still something, I wouldn't say something, just a little, like, he was back, but not fully back. He was getting close, but I felt like there was still something kind of missing because the way Eli rode, it's kind of the way he'd been riding all year, and the circumstances. We don't have to go through that, but you know what I mean. Circumstances kind of helped that. Well, he was coming into his favorite place.
I'm sick of people calling me the old guy, so I'm just warming up. I'm getting better. I'm coming, so I'm ready to get going, and second will do for tonight.
I think for him, he knew that this weekend was important, not only for the points, but just on the mentality on both sides. I knew out of all the races, kind of like Anaheim won, this was an Anaheim one for Jett Lawrence, even a Cooper Webb and Eli Tomac, in the sense of, is he back, fully back? Is Eli fully back? If Jett Lawrence came in here and beat those guys, like what that message would say by doing it. And I did say last weekend, Eli had to come in here, whether he won the race or not, he had to show some kind of speed. Like if he didn't win the race, it had to be because, oh, dude, he went down in the first corner, but man, beast mode was back. The worst case scenario is almost what happened. With Jett Lawrence, the way he was able to pass Eli in the heat race and main event, let's just not sugarcoat it. That was an ass whooping. Like, I'm sorry for the language, but I mean, now it is what it is. I mean, that is what it is. I think with Eli Tomac, if you think about what he's done over the last few years, he would actually won that race. Like, he would have done exactly what he did the last few years. He passed Chase Sexton at the end of the race. Like he wasn't up front. Then he ended up passing Chase Sexton. The only problem was there was another person there, the X factor, Jett Lawrence. Jett Lawrence was the difference between Eli getting win number 8 there and compared to being stuck on 7. Because otherwise, Eli did kind of what he's been doing. I do feel like he's not fully back, and I've kind of been saying that all year. So I'm not saying that Jett Lawrence would have done that to Eli the last few years, because I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that overall, Eli would have still figured out how to win that race, but one other guy was there. And you just got to, when I was saying that, Eli was kind of like there was still something kind of missing. My case in point was that quad section. I think two things were going on. I think his bike setup was weird. I don't know. The easiest way to say it was just weird. That thing was super soft. It looked like it was really difficult for him to like get the traction and momentum like kind of going. And in that section, obviously being a little bit softer in the rear, like he was kind of worried about the foot pads bottoming out. Like it looked really unbalanced this weekend, and which I think helped Jett in that sense, what we'll talk about in a second. So that was one, the bike. And then two, when I was saying that his whole mentality was still like whether he was going to twist that throttle as out last weekend, he would have won that race, in my opinion, last year. This year, he was like, all right, it was already kind of a win, getting second. You saw that when he didn't want to jump that quad. And I know he's talked about that he didn't know, and maybe he didn't know how much of that gap was. I feel like he saw Jett doing that, and he actually saw how much time he was actually making on Chase in the beginning, and how much time he was actually losing to Chase in the beginning. Because the one thing that played with this track, guys got really close, and then you look up and they were like 2 seconds back in one straightaway. And it was really about whether the guy committed getting through that rhythm section or if they didn't mess up. And so Eli saw Chase doing that, and then he saw how much time Jett caught and passed him through that rhythm section. So he was kind of aware of it. And, like you kind of said after the race, he was just unwilling to kind of take it. And I know later on he said in the press conference that he didn't really know how much time, but I think he knew, like, little Johnny don't want me hitting that. I don't know.
I was frustrated I didn't do the quad. It cost me. So got to take more risks next time.
Like, there's still something missing. And case in point, that was the reason why he ended up, I wouldn't say losing the race, but that was a big reason why he wasn't really in Jett's league. Because once dude got bombed, I mean, it got up to like 10, 12 seconds, like quickly. And so for Eli, I don't know how he feels. He's a champion, and Eli, clearly he showed some speed. Clearly he's still the second best guy at this point. He was able to pass Chase, and what happened with Cooper, he was kind of in the back. Eli was still that guy, but that gap, it seemed like after this weekend, Jett Lawrence showed up and like was made those guys kind of realize that maybe there is a gap. And I think you can kind of see it on both their faces, Chase's and Eli, that it was like, damn, even if I jump this quad, do I really feel like I can make up the rest of that time? So we'll kind of see. So that was a tough one, I know, mentally for Eli, but the guy is a champion, and if anybody can do it, he can do it. But those signs of like the 11th places, or going from third all the way back to being lap, you kind of saw that kind of happen here at Daytona, and I'm sure it was a little bit frustrating for him, but he still ended up second. So we'll find out here soon.
So going off of that, with Eli not being able to or not willing to make that extra push, and he's probably fully aware of that, like you said, come in the coming weeks, does he now feel like he has a little bit extra pressure for those rhythms that pop up in the future tracks to be like, all right, I have to go this because Jett's going to go for this? Or do you think this is how he is and he knows his limit, he's not going to push it?
Yeah, I think with Eli, it's not necessarily about him more than about jumping like quads and stuff, because there hasn't been anything all year and where Jett's like jumping the stew jumps. You know what I mean? Like even what he was jumping that quad this weekend. I mean, 250 guys were jumping it. Like it wasn't that. It's just that when I was saying, would Eli have that risk? Will he be willing to hit the ground like he did in A3 last year? Like he wouldn't be denied. Last weekend when he was coming up, I feel like he could have went a little bit faster and just, caught Cooper, because what that would have said could have changed the whole weekend coming into this weekend. It wouldn't have been as much pressure. So I don't necessarily think it's about him like saying I got to jump quads and be more worried about that. I just think it's more of a like maybe it makes other people kind of say, all right, now I see what he was saying. Now I see what he was saying about, is he fully back? Because that's it's hard when you have that spot where you're like, I lost the race because I wouldn't do something. That's a hard pill to swallow. Like it's easier being like, nah, dude, I did everything and I just got my ass kicked. Like that was it. But when I was unwilling to do something and that other guy was willing to do it, it's not like you're gonna have that same jump next weekend, but it's the mindset of, okay, if it's a quad this weekend, is it a whoop section next weekend? Or is it just like we're on the gate and it's a knockdown, drag out, like to the end, and that guy has to, like it comes down to 5 laps left, who's going to push it? Who wants to win this race? Well, I could just go back to like, okay, a couple weekends ago, he wasn't willing to do it. So I'm going to push it because I don't think he'll be willing to go that fast again. And so that's more what it is, more than a jump, which makes it actually harder. Because if it was just strictly jumps, I think Eli doesn't have anything to worry about. There's no jumps out there that really anybody's doing all year. It's something different, and he's gonna have to figure out, was this just a one-off, and can he flip that switch, or was this kind of the same thing that's going to happen all year long? We'll find out.
Over like Roxon did, and
Jett's got the line up the inside. He has passed both Yamaha riders, and the series leader is into the race lead. Unbelievable, this battle here. That's what everyone at Daytona wanted to see. This year's series leader and the all-time winner at this track.
If you watch him after he got passed by Jett in the heat race, he got frustrated. He started jumping stuff. He was like mad. Same thing in the heat race, the main event, excuse me. He was, you can hear his motorcycle, like him like over revving the thing. And it was almost like he reverted back into like the Eli in the past, to where like it was really frustrating for him. You can see in his body language that he was like trying to get Jett. And I said on the broadcast that the one thing that Eli, like Jett already caught and passed him. The only thing that can kind of save this is somehow Eli says, like, I figured out my rhythm and I was able to catch him at the end. Like, that's what he can go off on. And then he was starting to do that, and then he just dropped off again. So you could just see him trying to not allow Jett to pull away, so he would believe that what was going to happen in the main event, what ended up happening in the main event, was going to happen in that heat race. Because you can always go be like, okay, all right, Eli was caught behind whatever, or, you know, he wasn't feeling that good. And then once he started rolling, then he's there. So if he was able to like stay at the same pace as Jett or catch Jett, then Jett would be in between the heat race and main event, thinking that, okay, those first few laps he wasn't warm. Now he's warm, and when he was warm, he was actually catching me again. So I'm not going to be able to just run past him like I did. Well, and so that's what Eli was trying to do. Eli knew that, so he was trying to like catch Jett again in a heat race, and he couldn't, and he was flustered. He would catch him a little bit, but you can see how much effort it was taking him to do that. And then finally, like, Jett just rode off from him then, and I think that was the start of the frustration for him. So there was a lot of stuff mentally that was going on this weekend, and you can see it in the bike. And yeah, I think Eli, the quad situation was one, and he said he didn't even know the bike was frying, smoking. That's how much he was so probably pissed off. I mean, it might have been him. Steam might have been coming out his head rather than anything else, but it was definitely, like I said, he lost 3 points to Jett, which is nothing really the way the season been, but that points gap upstairs, that's where the biggest hit was this weekend. But he's a champion too, so he can come out and win next weekend. It's just going to be a lot more difficult. Like, I feel like for all those guys, if they allow Jett to come in and win next weekend and following weekend, it's over. I'm telling you right now, it's over. Might not even be surprised if he wins the rest of them at that point. That's where we go, because we saw what happened in outdoors, and we know the guy can like just win. And most of the races that he hasn't won this year, it's been pretty like, you can go back and be like, okay, a bad start. He was doing things that normally Jett doesn't do. Well, we see what happens when a dude gets on a roll. So they don't beat him the next couple weekends, they might not beat him again. So with Chase Sexton coming in this weekend, I feel like he's been just kind of there, almost like a little bit Cooper Webb. Like, his finishes have been like solid. Cooper Webb in the past, just finishes been solid, and you look into points, like he's still right there, but people would say he's not firing on all cylinders, but he's right there. And when you look at everything in the whole, this points chase has been really close. Like, it's never been this close in how many years in Supercross, with so many guys being within a certain amount of points. But when you start breaking it down, are the riders as close as to Jett as the points say they are? Like, is that gap from 1 through 7 or whatever it is, like, are they all that close to him? And you would have to say no. And my point is with Chase Sexton, I almost feel like there's, especially like this weekend and the next weekend, a couple weekends, it's like you feel lucky that you're even this close, because you shouldn't be. And you're not like it's a speed thing. Like, you got to work on your motorcycle, and you've been working on that. Clearly, they've been working on it, some forks and, changes, some tubes and different stuff. Got to do whatever it takes. But you're just hoping for Jett to keep making those mistakes. So the points say you're as close as you really are as far as speed wise. And this weekend, you just saw it. Like, Chase jumped out front, and I kind of made the mark on the TV. I'm like, it's kind of Chase Sexton in the past, like going out. But I knew it wasn't a Chase Sexton in the past, because it wasn't like Chase was going like 3 seconds faster. When we saw Chase last year, Chase would get that gap, and you'd be like, damn, dude's going fast. Like, he's going fast. That's the reason he had that gap. Now, Chase got that gap because he was willing to do what Jett was doing, and Eli was kind of in Jett's way, messing him up. So Jett couldn't get that quad section good. In the beginning part of the race, Chase was hitting that joint. Like, he was hitting it. But you knew the way his bike is set up, and I said, like, when you have speed, the one thing that was going to be holding Chase back was, partly the motorcycle. I think there's a limit on that KTM going so fast, and not in a negative, but that rhythm section, as that thing got worn out, it got deeper. I feel like what allows Jett to go fast, his bike being stiffer, just the way that Honda's set up, he would have had an easier time to continue doing it. And as the rhythm section got bad, Chase was struggling, and that's why he went from like gone, because Chase Sexton, he had like a 3-4 second lead quickly, and they would close in on him, and then they would show the battle on Eli and Jett around the mechanics area. Then you look up and Chase be hitting the triple going the other way, and it was strictly because of that rhythm section. But as that track got worn down, things were becoming more of, could that bike even handle that? Was it stiff enough to actually handle getting through that section? And then you kind of saw it back down. But Chase rode just like Chase has been all year long. Jett got past him and Jett took off, but Chase was just doing his thing. And that's why he was able to hold Eli off. And I think you saw Eli getting really frustrated because he knew he was faster than Chase, but he couldn't really do anything to actually go faster somewhere else to get around. So my point is Chase rode like he has been all year long. I think this weekend, even though he's still like he only lost 5 points in a grand scheme of things, him and Eli didn't lose that many points to Jett. They lost something else. I think they lost. It was a bigger points gap as far as the mindset on both of those guys, because you can clearly hear the difference in those two. Yeah, Eli should be happy. He backed up. I mean, he was happy for second place last weekend. He was like stoked. I'm starting to get back here. But this weekend, they said the fans were cheering Eli's name, like they were hyped up. And he was like, man, I didn't jump that quad. Like, that cost me the race. Like, his mindset was still in that race. And then Chase Sexton was like, yeah, I mean, we still need to we still need to work on the bike. But you can see in their eyes that, like, they know that wasn't that good. Like, what happened, that wasn't that good. So Chase is doing the same thing. For him, the championship's going to be won the next 2 weekends. Like, yeah, something can happen. Guys could get hurt. But if Chase is going to somehow pull it off where Chase can just beat Jett, whether Jett's in the race or not, you'll find out the next 2 weekends if he can find some kind of speed. Otherwise, it's going to be like how the season's been going. They're just there because of circumstances. And even though the points say they're close, they know in the back of their mind that they're not that close. They need him to mess up. To give them the opportunity to win. And that's not a place that you want to be in when you're defending champion or beast mode like Eli Tomac. That's a rare place for those guys to be in. Maybe they've never been in that position in their whole career. And so it's going to be different for them. So it's going to be interesting to watch how they react to it.
Quickly going back to what you were talking about with Chase's bike setup, we saw in the heat race where Roxon went down and then got back up and charged the lead. Chase did come and push and almost get Kenny on the last lap with a few corners to go, and then he washed the front end going into that corner. Was that simply, from what you can remember, I can pull it up too, was that simply just him going too high in kind of a thicker part of the corner where it washed, or was that bike setup knifing? Because we haven't really seen him do that yet on the KTM.
Yeah, I think a little bit of both, to be honest with you. I think it was the most I've seen him, I would say, on the limit on the KTM, making more mistakes, but looking like he was pushing through. It was not as comfortable for him to ride that pace. But also, I think it was the track, too. To be able to get around somebody, you had to take those chances. And the crazy thing was, the way to pass somebody on this racetrack was almost to give him a gap, and almost instead of going faster than that guy, almost have that guy feel like you have a gap, and that guy backs off the throttle and feels like he's got you covered, and then you go blowing past him. Because when guys got up, if you watch any of the races, like, guys were struggling when they were super close to him. Like, guys were having a hard time. Like Chase, when he was close to Roxon, he was struggling. But when he would make a mistake and he'd be like 2 seconds back, he could make that time up really quick. Same thing with Eli Tomac. Like, he could catch Chase, but then when he got to Chase, he was like making mistakes. Same thing with Jett. But what ended up happening was, when Jett got close to Eli, it was like he made a mistake, he backed off, and next thing you know, they're showing Eli and kind of Chase, and then you see Jett running in. And so my point was, I think with the track and how slippery it was and how it's hard for guys even landing off the triple just to go straight, guys were landing and shooting this way or whatnot. The riders were racing in a point where they were trying to focus in on what they were trying to do, but also they're looking at the other guy, making sure that he's not going to do anything. And so it'd be like driving down the road and you're like, I'm trying to speed, I'm racing the dude, but half my mind's here, but my other part's up watching him. So when that guy makes a mistake, I'm going to get caught making a mistake because I'm watching him. they always go to saying, like, when you see guys make mistakes, if somebody's watching another rider, the guy behind him makes the same exact mistakes because you get caught watching that dude. Well, this weekend, the way that track was, you had no choice. When you were that close to somebody, you had to watch that guy because the track was that difficult. So part of the thing was going on with Chase and all these guys. When they got close to him, they had a hard time just racing because they wasn't focused on themselves. They had to be focused on them, on the guy in front of them. When they were farther back, then they just focused on themselves. They can catch them. So the only way to really pass and catch somebody was like drop back. And then this guy's thinking that, all right, he's not that close. And then you just go blowing past him and then you be gone. And that's how most of the passes were done all weekend. So in case in the heat race, I mean, it was last lap. He just threw it in. He didn't have no choice. He was trying to pass Roxon, but same thing was going on. Chase was just up on Roxon trying to pass him, and he tried doing it in a spot that it was going to be difficult, and he ended up going down. So to answer your question, no, I don't necessarily think that was all suspension. I just think that was really the track side of things. But yeah, the suspension was how that limit kind of on that KTM where it looked like what he was doing, he was trying really hard, making a few mistakes, but I'm not going to say he crashed because he overrode the motorcycle. He crashed because he overrode the motorcycle and he overrode everything else. Cooper Webb. Yeah, Cooper Webb was almost a no-show this weekend. Like it was difficult, and I give him partly a pass because just I know how Cooper is, but I know he had to be disappointed, and I don't really know what they didn't really show him too much, so I don't really know what happened besides like I saw him back there. He got a bad start in the heat race, and he was coming up, and I think the track and how difficult it was, it made it really hard for guys to come up through the pack. Because of what I was just saying about Chase just a minute ago. But I think I was telling somebody before when Cooper was the fastest qualifier. And I was like, in Cooper Webb's whole career, since he's been in 450s, like I bet he hasn't been the fastest qualifier. I bet you can count on one hand how many times he's been the fastest qualifier. And this guy's a 2-time champ. He's been in this class for a while. And I was right. It was 4. And this weekend marked 5. So you would have to think that, okay, Cooper Webb is like, he's got to be feeling pretty good. Well, yeah, no, I think Cooper was fast. So obviously he was feeling good, but I don't know if he was to the point to where maybe that second qualifying, maybe they tried something different on the motorcycle or they were still searching for something. Maybe he wasn't completely comfortable because definitely, he didn't do anything really this weekend. Like anything. He didn't really make no splashes. Even when he came up to the back, he was like, oh, he came up, he got such and such. But I think just for him, his mindset of coming off of winning last weekend, and I said, out of all the people, Cooper, that's his money. Like, I don't care. He's playing for Jett falling. That was his plan in the beginning. So I don't think he was going to come in and feel maybe like, I would say Chase Sexton or some of those other guys where I'm only as close because, Jett been, going down. I think Cooper believes that he's riding better than he ever has. Bike is good. Like, I can beat this dude. And I just came out being fastest in qualifying. And I'm sure he wanted to win Daytona. But I think with Cooper's mindset is I don't think he wanted to win Daytona. I think he just wanted to keep winning, period. Like, I don't believe certain guys come to certain races and they're like, this race is the race. Like I do feel like, and I'll talk more about him in a second, Jett had a point coming into this race, but I think Cooper was going to be this stingy this weekend and next weekend. So I don't think it was all emphasis on Daytona. But he also knew like he's pretty good here. And that track was, hey, you want to say a Cooper Webb type of track, it was going to be brutal. So everything was kind of pointing favor to him. And then he's fast in qualifying. The fastest, and then I don't know what happened in the main event. Like, it just nothing really happened. And for Cooper, it's going to be interesting to see how he plays this weekend. Like, is it one of those, like, he's bummed out? I'm sure he's bummed out. Dude's bummed out when he wins, so I'm sure he's mad. But I don't know if this weekend would hit him as hard as it might hit some other guys. I think Cooper Webb's going to be just back to Cooper Webb next weekend. He's just going to figure out. I don't know what happened this weekend, but I know what would happen next weekend. I'm sure he'll show up. And if anybody can be a real still believe like they're in this fight, that would be Cooper Webb, against Jett. I think Jett was able to take some notches out of maybe other guys. I don't think since Cooper was so far back and he never even raced Jett, maybe he don't feel that way because he's been beat by Jett that far already this year. So I don't think it's going to affect him because he wasn't up there battling those guys. So as bad as the race was, it might have been a good thing for Cooper Webb because he wasn't up there witnessing what Jett Lawrence was doing and pulling away from him. He was just in the back of the pack doing whatever the hell he was doing back there. And then he ended up wherever he ended. And that was kind of it.
Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit.
Jett Lawrence. I mean, dude showed up this weekend, said he was all about business.
So I'm here to do business this weekend, not to mess around like last weekend. So I'm here to do strictly business and try and get out there, hit my marks, and do what I'm supposed to do. So yeah.
I don't think he was about business because I think he's always about business. I think he was going to make those guys make a business decision. He's going to put them in the choice that, look, you want to run with me, you got to make a business decision. Whether you possibly might hit the ground or you're going to try to run with this level or you just save for next weekend. Well, he put those guys in that spot, and they made a business decision to say, like, hey, yeah, I just didn't jump it. And then he said, I forgot about it. I didn't realize it, whatever. And I said this a few times with Jett Lawrence. People talk about, and I think people see it more now than they did when I first started saying this last year at Outdoors, when I was like, dude, that dude's a killer. Like, don't be sneaky. Don't get fooled with the donuts. Don't get fooled with the donuts. Like, he might be baking them, but he might be whooping the chefs in the background, like making sure the donuts are right. Like, that's what type of person he is. Because that dude wants to win, and he's all about winning. So coming in this weekend, like he said his interview after the heat race, and people think that it's more directed towards, what just happened in that heat race. So Jett Lawrence comes in and he wins the heat race and he says, I'm all about business. I'm here. I'm focused. Now, I think two parts of that, like, yeah, he was, and he knew what this weekend would actually do. And I'll talk about that in a second. But I think for him, what he was meaning in that heat race and why he wasn't so like, I'm just about to wax these dudes again, because he knew how difficult that racetrack was. I mean, guys were just having a hard time going straight. And we were joking around on broadcast, but not really, of like, you just got to double stuff. Like, you got to just make the jumps. And I said that it was a weird type of track. It was almost like you race that track. When you watch those guys race, it was a mud race, how it looked, but it was dry. Like, it was a dry mud race as far as how difficult it was for guys just making things, especially that rhythm section, how they were coming up. They would hit the quad, then they would go single, 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 single. It looked like a mud race, but it was dry. And so I think Jett knew that, yeah, I could lose this race, and it has nothing to do with getting beat by Eli or anybody else. Like, this track is going to be difficult. And being a guy that's made a few mistakes at the end of the race, like last weekend, and even he had one in the main event. He probably had a few of them, but that was the one we caught. He just knew, I'm not going to sit here and go like, yeah, like, it's all about business. I'm about to wax that. Like, this is directly towards them. He just knew that, hey, I'm here. I'm not going to get too excited because I know this track is real. Like, my biggest competition is going to be this track, not necessarily those guys. So that's where I believe that came from. But going back to the point, going into this weekend, we talked about, was beast mode back? We talked about Cooper Webb. Jett Lawrence knew about all that. And his contents of what, they were starting to say, oh, he called Eli the old guy and the beast mode and all this stuff. Like, I think people really running into that context and taking that out of context, because one, I don't think Jett Lawrence would ever disrespect Eli Tomac like that, because Eli Tomac just beat him a couple weekends ago. So the last thing you want to do is be like, well, the dude just beat me. So why would I say he's not good when the guy just beat me straight up a couple weekends ago? I tried catching him. I couldn't catch him. So the last thing I'm going to say is he ain't as good as he is, like, at least publicly about him. I think what Jett was actually saying, and it's just my opinion, I think what he was telling you was No, I don't think the Eli that I was able to beat in Phoenix is the Eli that I grew up watching my whole career. Like, that's not that same guy. Like, he might be getting close, and it feels good to beat him, but I don't think I got the best of beast mode. Well, nonetheless, doesn't matter what he says, is how people took it, and people took it that way. So, all that being said, he knew that something happened and woke Eli up, and he showed up at Dallas, and that was his race to win. He threw it away. But going into this weekend, I do feel like Jett Lawrence was all about, if I can knock this dude off at this race, what it's going to do for me psychologically and what it would do to him. So when he said he was all about business, he came into this race thinking that was his business. Like, his business was, I want to win this race. It's like, I want to win every other race, but I want to win this race particular. I want to win this race because winning this race is going to ultimately help me win this championship, compared to, I think if you'd have won Dallas or Phoenix, it'd be another step to win the championship. But if Eli was coming back into form, which he was, it was like the best case scenario. Like, all right, Cooper Webb just won. All right, he thinks he's back. All right, everybody talking about him. All right. And, hey, I wouldn't have won this race if it was anybody else but Cooper Webb. Like, I probably still won this race. I wouldn't have made a mistake. Yeah, you hear all that, whatever. But he knows it's probably true. And now they're talking about Eli Tomac is back. Beast Mode's back, going into his favorite track where he won like 8,000 these things. 8,000. And I haven't raced here but once. I won when I came here, but I haven't raced here. I'm still a rookie. I make all types of mistakes, and we know Daytona is a mistake-full track. So, yeah, there's a good chance that I might crash. They might beat me. You know what? I'm showing up focused this weekend, because if I beat those guys, there's nothing they can say. Yeah, Eli's trending the right way. Cooper Webb just won another race. He's only 3 points back. He's right there. I'm going to put my stamp on that. That was the business type of guy. They're going into the race, that's where that business came from. What he said in the heat race, I don't necessarily think he was talking about that because how gnarly this track was. But all that being said, he knew what he was trying to accomplish this weekend, and he knew how important it was. And I'm telling you, the way he did it, it was bad luck. It was bad luck for those guys. It was bad luck because at the end of the day, everything was trending the right way. And if it wasn't for the X factor and Jett Lawrence there, Eli would have won another one. And so he just feels like the kid's a killer, and he knows when, just like I say with Cooper Webb, like, he's a killer in a different type of way. This dude, it's nice being able to have that attitude when you know I can dictate this. Like, if I have that attitude, I can go out and outrun these dudes, and there's nothing they can do about it. Well, I feel like up until this weekend, he felt like he can do that. But after this weekend, he knows he can do it, and he might have those guys knowing that he can do it as well, instead of like, all right, well, maybe. And that's why I go back to, if they don't beat this dude the next couple of races, they don't go and send some kind of message, it's over. It's a wrap. It's a wrap. Yeah, you take out crazy things happening, RJ falling out of popcorn, of course. But that's the only way it's going to happen. It's the only way it's going to happen. Just like I said, if he won Anaheim 1 and he won the first few of them, we wouldn't even be talking about this at Daytona. The fact is, like, they're close because he's been going up and down. So it's not ironic that this dude came in here more focused than he ever probably has been since Anaheim 1 this weekend, because he knew what it would do, and he did it the best way. And I'm telling you, if he don't beat this guy next couple weekends, it's over. It's over. It's over. Dude's too good. He's got the right attitude. And of course, he afraid to die. He ain't afraid to die. He'll go out there and hit it too. Like, he was doing something that you guys wasn't like worried about doing. Part of the reason why he was able to do that is because his motorcycle, like the things that would hurt him in certain tracks, was obviously helping him on this one. His bike being a little bit stiffer. What we saw at Chase Sexton in the beginning part of that race, Chase was jumping that quad. Chase was able to jump that quad, but when that thing got deep and those holes start coming, and Daytona's another track that the last thing you want to have is all these ruts, because the way the lighting is, you can't see nothing out there. It's so hard to see in Daytona, so that's a risk right there. And when that thing got deep, he had to back it down because his bike's not set up for that. And Eli Tomac, I don't really know what they did over there, but his bike wasn't set up for that as well. But if you've been in kart, he was jumping that quad. He was jumping it. But as that track got torn up, where Jett bike maybe hurts him in certain parts, allows him to do these things. And I think if you ask Jett, why was that? Like, why was that? What made that quad so hard? I bet he would say, I don't really know. I don't really know, because for me, it was easier jumping the quad than going the other way. Guaranteed that's what he would say. Like, when people, for me, be like, dude, why do you go to whoop so fast? Or how do you jump the quad? I don't know. Like, it was easier for me to do that than do the other thing. I told my boy Chad Reed, I'm like, I saw 4 because it was harder for me to jump 3. 4 was easier. And it was because my bike, the way my bike's set up. Well, Jett Lawrence, when he's going at speed, his bike works. A stiff motorcycle does not work at slow speed. So that section, it was way better for him to just hit it faster, and he was getting through it, and that's why he was gaining much time. And then you would see these other guys, like, dude, they were struggling. When Jett came out the corner and almost endo right before the finish line, like, the reason he didn't endo is because his bike was stiff. Like, that's the luxury of having it. You might have been in that situation because your bike was stiff, but you was able to get out of that situation because the bike was stiff. But it's just a mindset. This kid has it, and clearly he's been willing to take the risk all year long. We saw him make some mistakes, but he showed up this weekend and showed out. And as I said, I don't have to keep saying it, but I'm going to keep saying it. It's going to be neck burn city if they don't stop him next weekend or the following weekends. The dude's too good. He too good, and they kind of know that. But what we do got is he showed up at Anaheim 1. He won. And then he showed up at the next race. He didn't win. And then he was back there, like, battling with El Hombre, getting all that, going back and forth, and it kind of got a little, the crowd started, going a little sideways on him a little bit. Like, he was like, dude, like, he was in everything else but what he does best. And now he's back. And I was like, man, I haven't said, like, Lawrence. It's been weird. I'd say somebody else for neck burn. But now we come back to Daytona, where it's another big race. Besides Anaheim 1, it's probably the second biggest race of the year, and it's not surprising that he won the biggest race, and then he's going to win second biggest race. So what are we going to do for him, Cole? Hit it for him.
Suntan, neck's on fire.
Neck burn. I don't even know if they actually gave you neck burn, but who cares? This is a big neck burn. I know somebody else hot. Them other guys, you got a neck burn, but they might be burnt. They might be burnt in a different way. Eli Bike was smoking and had nothing to do with his motorcycle. That dude was smoking because his ears was on fire. His ears, he could have slapped little Johnny. He sat and Chase like, I don't even know, man. I was looking for going to the salon after this. I was trying to get tipped out. I was out front, gone. I was thinking I was back, and then you come flying past me. He gave me a 2-for-1 special. I thought I was at Public BOGO special. Just came on, and you were right there, and then you were gone. I didn't even know where you went. I thought maybe you fell and pulled off the racetrack. You were so far gone. But you know what time it is. So, Jett Lawrence, you showed up business-like. You made him make a business decision. That's what it was. You weren't worried about business. You were making them make business decisions, and they had to make one. They made probably the correct one. So, good job. 250 class. Last weekend, I saw Austin Fortner hit the ground. Get well soon. That was a tough one, but it kind of opened the class up in the sense where it was wide open, but there was still one guy that we thought was going to solidify himself. We thought, hey, Deegan was going to come in after he had all these kids last year. He was going to come in with a new baby this year, but he came in a little hurt. And then Austin Fortner showed up, and he was back. And then we realized how good he really was, and he was able to win. Then he went down. But the 250 class was waiting for somebody to step up and dominate it outside of Hayden Deegan. Like, that was the one guy in the 250 class that you didn't want to come in and win, because I believe he made that race. He made himself win that race last weekend, just kind of being there and just kind of being stubborn. His mindset just always just grimy, a little bit of Cooper Webb in him. He kind of stuck, and then we already know what happened after that. So going into this weekend, you had to feel the way he passed Jeremy Martin on the outside last year. The kid was disrespectful, like disrespect. And everything that's told you about him, that when he has an opportunity, he really seizes that. But I don't think since he's been pro, and for a while, there hasn't been as much hype on him since he was in the futures class, as that feeling of you're the guy and you have to win this thing. And when you don't win, it's like, what happened? He hasn't had that much hype on him. since then. And then probably, probably maybe the end of outdoors when he was, maybe getting close. Well, my point is the biggest thing for Hayden he was gonna have a hard time was not actually racing anybody in that field, was that being that guy. And how is he gonna react being that guy? And there was little signs of it here and there, but this was like the first time that I feel like, even coming into the Supercross season this year, like he was the guy. But yeah, Austin was there, but he was hurt, so he kind of had a little bit of like leeway. But then when he won last weekend, people throw out the injury, whatever. Hayden just didn't look right from the beginning, and yeah, he had that crash, and probably scared him, which probably just didn't help his mindset because he was off anyway. And I think his dad Brian said it during the race, or Will said she talked to him, and he said that, I don't know, just something's not right with him. Something's just a little off. Breakfast, like he ate Fruit Loops today. He didn't eat his normal Captain Crunch. Something was off. And you can see that the way he was riding, because even in the main event, like what happened last weekend, Austin passed him, and then he just got in there and he got in rhythm and caught his rhythm, and then he just stayed there and started actually catching Austin. Well, I thought that was going to happen this weekend. And I feel like if Hayden wasn't, that practice crash possibly scaring him being off, I believe that pressure of being the guy, which is something he'll learn how to deal with. It looked like Hayden was riding not to lose something rather than to gain it. And every time we watch Hayden gaining it, racing, it's like when he was at Washougal, launching out on the single, like just free ride, just launching out, hitting that thing at the last race, that quad. That was the Hayden Deegan that's gotten here to this point. That wasn't the guy I saw this weekend. And I didn't see that from the first practice when he first went out there until the main event. And like I said, it felt like he was riding not to lose something. By doing that, brought everyone else in, and it kind of let those guys feel like, okay, all right, this thing's really wide open. Because I do feel like this 250 class, and it was unlike what I was saying in the beginning. I was like, yeah, I feel like there are some dominant guys in this 250 class, that it could be with Hayden and Austin if they get on a run. Well, now you have Max. He was up and down and all day, and then he rode good in that heat race and won it. But then in the main event, he was kind of up and down. And then it looked like at one point, I think there was 3 or 4 guys tied for the lead in the points lead. They were going to have triple quad red plates, seriously. And then Max got around the guy at the end to hold on to the points lead. My point is, people, is wide open. And you had Tom Vialle, the sneaky Frenchman, the quiet guy, said he's been riding good all year. All year he's been riding really good, but it's been quiet, really quiet. Just like he came up through this race, it was almost like ninja-like. And when you start thinking about Tom Vialle and how he's won, and the race that he won before in Southwick, how he rode, it was sneaky. He came from nowhere, but he was there the whole time. Like, he was weird. How good he's been riding, how he rode outdoors, how he's been riding all year. It's like you're surprised, but then you start thinking it's not really surprising that he won this race, because it fits him. This track was super technical. You either had to be really like loose and just okay with feet flying off, or you had to be very precise to be able to just double through the stuff and do that consistently every lap. And that was Tom Vialle. And so the fact is, he gets better with time. Like, as the outdoor season and that Supercross went on last year, the guy got better and better and better. And you got to, like, this is his second year in Supercross. So for him, he's going to get better. And he might be that guy that comes up and possibly get on the roll. And you wouldn't think that just because of how quiet he is. But the dude's won 2 world titles, and those series seem like they're forever. So he knows how to, like, manage a race series. And with Hayden, if he don't have another baby coming up this weekend, like, Tom can be that guy that comes up and sneaky, comes out of the middle of nowhere, but has been there the whole time, and then ends up your champion because other guys haven't solidified that moment. Yeah, you got Cameron McAdoo. He's just happy to be there. Like, he was just happy. I thought he looked really good in the heat race. He's riding the best he has probably his whole career. I thought that was his race, but he jumped off the racetrack. But then he was still just happy that he wasn't hanging everything out, and he was still there, and he ended up second. I'm just waiting for, I don't know what's going to happen. It seems like everybody in that class just happy. They just all happy. Whatever you finish, I'm just happy. The only one that ain't happy is probably Hayden Deegan, but he might have been happy the way he gets out of there. So, truth to glass is wide open. You just left it wide open. And we'll see what happens. Will you fall back in the danger zone next weekend? Otherwise, it could be a danger zone for Hayden and let all these fools come up in there, and we're going to have a full series of guys that's up and down. But what thing we didn't get, and it's his first time he ever got this one on I guess, official neck burn, because I don't think he got official one last year. Did he win Southwick overall? He just won a moto?
Yeah.
Okay,
overall.
so he's got a neck burn. Well, his first real neck burn. And at this place at Daytona, that's a special one. And you could tell when he won the race, he gave Roger a hug, which is like an awkward hug. I think he was still in the zone of like, damn, I really won this thing. Like, I was about to go get me a croissant. You know, I was chilling. I can't believe I won. Tom Vialle, you going to hit it for him, Cole, please?
Suntan, next on fire.
It was an awkward neck burn. It was an awkward. But it was just because you were there, but you weren't there, but you were there the whole time. And you ended up taking it, and you were like dominant. It was like a sneaky, silent dominant. You had that low voice like, yeah, I'm just happy to be here, just happy. And you just waxed these fools. So Tom Vialle, are you going to be the two-time world champ and just start like, are you going to do to these guys what you did to those guys over there? We're going to find out. Or danger zone. You're going to get back up, keep racing, win. Get back, let it fly. Cameron, let it hang out. I know you have to be here. Just let it hang out, son. You fast, son. You fast. Let it hang out. And I don't know what's up with my Chance Hymas dude. I'm just waiting for him. Dude's got such good style. I don't know what's up with him. But we'll find out. And Max Anstey, you still talking. No, I'm just kidding. I knew he was going to be happy. He don't even care. Like, he just happy. He just period. I'm happy. Perspective in life makes you happy. And he's like, dude, I'm close to Disney World. That's all I care about. Oh, and I got a red plate. Cool. All right, people. That was it from Daytona. That was it from all that. Almost went to the end, but we ain't there yet. You know what time it is. My favorite time. Your favorite time. Stews and Stews. We'll be right back. What's up, guys? It's your boy JS7. Look, if you ain't got time to watch our whole video, which I don't know why you don't, make sure you go here and subscribe and check out our new channel where we're going to have some smaller clips, some clips that you haven't seen on our main show just for y'all. So make sure you subscribe, click, comment, do whatever you do. Watch our whole show, but come to this channel as well. Check out our stuff. See you there. All right, people, you know what time it is. My favorite time, your favorite time. Stew and Stew. Now, first, I think it's very important that we start off with this guy. You know, I say no more defaults, and I don't know why I keep saying no more defaults, because it's pretty clear that there's no more defaults, and this definitely wasn't default. Maybe it's default in his mind because he knew he was going to come in and win anyway, so just a placeholder. But Jett Lawrence. Now, I'm not going to say like the way you rode was like, that gives you a stew. I mean, that does give you a stew, but, you know, I've seen you ride like this before. But the fact is, like, you came in here knowing that it was business. And you had these people confused. Like, they were like, oh, I'm all about business. No, they got it confused because they were saying, like, oh, he's saying I'm business, talking all this noise, business. No, you're going to make those guys make a business decision because I'm about to put them in a spot that they're going to have to make a choice. Whether they really want to come mess with me or not. And I think that's the definition of a stew. When you go out there and whether you're hitting a jump, whether it's going through the whoops, whether it's my boy Ricky making a decision and he made his and he ran into the boat, he had to make a choice and he made his. Well, you made those guys make a choice and they just held on to theirs and they said, we'll fight for next weekend. So Jett Lawrence, the business decision is the reason why you Stu today. Yeah, you won, whatever. You won. Not surprising. You won. But that was good. So Jett Lawrence, your business decision is why you Stu. And Tom Vialle, you were like there, but you wasn't there. Like you were sneaky and everybody was like, oh, dang, like where you come from? You were doing a burnout and people was like, who is this dude? Like I mean, they ripping, man, Daytona crowd. Y'all be ripping people's goggles off. Y'all crazy. Give me a bad look. Y'all my people. Like, this is our hometown. Like, y'all getting robbed over there. So they were like doing a burnout. They were like, yeah, who is this guy? And then you came up and you gave everybody a hug and they were like, he really won. But I mean, why is it not suspected? You should win because you have won before and you know how to do this, but you just never won. So this is your first time winning at this one and all this other hype. And then you came sneaking in there and you just dominant. So Tom Vialle, you was Stu because you was sneaky good when it was not sneaky at all. All right, my next list. Stu, pissed off because you like, look, I'm coming back. This dude's not as good as he thinks he is. And he's coming here talking about I'm the old guy for real. Like, oh God, disrespect. You know, you be in the mindset where you like, I need something, I'm gonna turn something that ain't to nothing because I need something to turn something on that I need to find it because I need to find it. And it's really the other people in your camp that's making a big deal because they know like something needs to go, something needs to happen. Well, you pissed off. Well, I'm gonna go Eli Tomac.
Come on now, dog. Come on, man.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever put him on the Stewart list. And he's gonna be on the Stewart and Confewsed list. Why? He's gonna get a double one. Because he was like pissed off after the race because he knew, dude, I didn't jump the quad. I didn't. And then he was in the press conference saying, I didn't even know the quad existed. I didn't know he should have went on that inside line because he was like confused. He was like, wait, no, what? Wait, did I jump the quad? Did I not jump the quad? Was that the reason why he pulled away from me? Because I jumped the quad or I didn't jump the quad? Should I jump the quad? But if I would jump the quad, then I might not be here because if I jumped the quad, I might have been laid up. And I heard Jett Lawrence, he was talking about business, and he did put me in a business decision. So I'm all confused because I don't know if I need to jump the quad or not jump the quad. But I don't think that's the reason why I lost the race. But I lost the race because I didn't jump the quad. I don't know. And then Cooper Webb, you were confused because you were like, dude, I'm the fastest. What? I don't even like that. I'm not supposed to be the fastest. I didn't have this plan, and then I was going to go out there and not be the fastest in the second practice. Then they canceled it. What's going on? I saw the 250 guys. They went out for their second practice, and then I couldn't go out. And then the heat race, I was like in the back, and I came up, and I'm like, that's kind of Cooper Webb stuff. And in the main event, I was there, and then like I was there the whole time, but I didn't do nothing. So I'm really confused because usually I do something. I ain't do nothing. I passed Ken Roxon again. But that was it. So I know you confused, not really mad, because you always mad. So I'm not even gonna put that. You just confused because you don't know what happened. And you were so far behind, you didn't even know what happened in the race. So you were so far behind, you probably thought you won because they were gone. But that's okay, Coop. That's okay because, you know, sometimes it's better not be in the race, rather be in the race and be looking where Eli, whether he should have jumped the quad or not jumped the quad, because you don't know why he should jump the quad because he didn't know that the quad was there. And then you got Chase Sexton. He was just like, I'm back. I'm fast again. Wait, I'm riding the same. How's those guys catching me? I just rode the same lap time. Wait, how are the guys catching me? No, I'm back. I'm gone again. Wait, am I faster than these guys or I'm not? Because every time I go, I just ride and I'll be gone. And then they back here. I don't know what's up. Then Eli Tomac, he be all over me. And then he almost passed me. And then this other dude comes up and passed me. I didn't even know he was there. Did you notice, Chase? I bet he didn't even know Jett came up past him. He went outside. He was like, all right. Oh, all right. Jett was like, hey, see you. Peace. Bye. Make a business decision. You want to stay with me? Sign the check. Business like. Chase like, nah, I'm still trying to figure out whether these are WPs or KYBs. I don't know. Figure it out yourself. And Chase, he was just confused because he couldn't figure out Eli Tomac. He was still going to pass me or he's never going to pass me. And then he finally passed me. And I was like, I don't know. I don't even know. Was there a quad? And Eli's still talking about the quad. So that's my list, people. He had Jett Lawrence, not because he won. He was a Stewart because he's business-like Stu. Tom Vialle because he was like the Vialle. He was there the whole time, but you didn't know he was there, and he was there. And then you had Eli Tomac, where he should jump the quad or not jump the quad. Is a quad there? Should he go to the inside line? Not. I lost the race because I didn't jump the quad, but did not even know the quad existed because I didn't know you should go there. I don't know. And then you had Cooper Webb. He was just pissed because he didn't do nothing. He didn't even know the race was even going on. He got fourth. Whatever.
Hey, James, can I add one to the stewed list?
What did I just say right now? I said steak my loot. Steak my loot. Yes.
Well, I don't know if you caught it after the race or once the first couple guys crossed the finish line, the fans stormed the track and Jason Anderson was still out there riding and like accidentally was like trying to go through all the fans that were out there and he hit a girl and he seemed pretty stewed. Like you could see him shaking his head, not stoked on everyone.
You will definitely add a hell hombre to the race because he was one of the guys that was up in here that I didn't even know he was racing. Like that's how he bad. So of course he gonna shoot a hostage. The hostage, he gonna take it out on somebody because he wasn't even there taking it out on the track. So I don't even think he was really mad. He just had to like, I don't know. Sometimes you get lucky in the situation. Like, man, you see them fans because you're gonna turn it on to about what you hit that person instead of what we saw, which we didn't see anything because you wasn't even there racing. So yeah, Jay Snell. I mean, it's not even surprising. I can't really put him on a confused list because of course. You get in his airspace, you're going to get shot. And then girl, boy, whatever, fans, you're going to get shot. And especially the way he was riding, you're lucky only one person got shot. And that was it. So not surprising. But yeah, the fans at Daytona, whether y'all was ripping goggles off fools or running on the track, like, damn, we got to have some rules up in this place. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh, shoot. No, wait, hold up. There's people still racing. There's still people racing. They don't care. They're trying to get to a podium where they're not going to get close to anybody. So whatever. Yeah, that was confusing. But the way people was getting jacked, I'm surprised. Like J-Bone didn't get his wallet stolen. Zale, I'm surprised. People were stealing wallets, goggles. So that was confusing for everybody. But I'm sure all the guys that almost hit the people, they were probably like, cool. Now we can talk about this. And not what I just went through. So whatever. All right, people. That was it from Daytona, where you saw the business decision being made and you saw something that was there the whole time, but you didn't even realize it was there. And Tom Vialle coming in, being dominant. Surprised, but not surprising at all. And then you saw people getting pickpocketed, goggles taken off. And then you saw El Hombre about to fight with a person shooting people because they run on the track. They in his airspace, literally in his airspace. Storm the court, storm Daytona. Yeah, I don't even know what to say about that. But we finished. All right, people. That was it from round 9, Daytona, where you saw Jett Lawrence and Tom Vialle. And I'm telling you again, y'all better stop that fool. Y'all better stop him. Because if you don't, it's over. It's over.